Our speaker today is Blaine. Blaine has 29 years of experience in IT, doing all kinds of different things for us. Blaine's real specialty is quality assurance. He's going to be talking to us about today on electronic document accessibility as an aspect of software quality. So I'll be looking at how disability and accessibility interact together. And feel free to ask him lots of questions. Doug's not here, so he is kind of hurting for somebody to ask him some good questions. Doug.
Not yet, but maybe soon.
That's right.
Hi all. Glad to be here with you tonight. I never thought I'd ever be doing this because I didn't figure I had anything that I could tell you all about quality, but over the past few years I've worked myself into a position where let's see, is it a little out of focus maybe? Okay, it must just be me. Got myself into a situation where I'm kind of the go-to guy, picking up on accessibility for people with disabilities. We call it Section 508 of the ADA. You might have heard 508 before. There's a few other terms that you'll see tonight if you haven't seen them before. I work at Indian Health Service as a contractor. I've been doing that for about 3.5 years, so hopefully it'll last until I'm ready to go play Santa Claus. I do have the costume in the closet, so you know. I hear you can make some pretty good money doing that too in some markets.
It's a little seasonal though.
Right. A little seasonal. That's good though. That's a good thing, right? You make 40 big in 3 months, you're doing well. Okay. So I won't bore you anymore about me, but let's move right in. These are the objectives for tonight, in no particular order, or in. Want to, with you, maybe with your participation, define disability, and then we'll identify a few barriers to electronic access. It's, you know, you can imagine things have changed a lot in the last 20 years. We have all this stuff that we can do stuff with, but the problem is a lot of times we're not using it. We're working, you know, as I say, harder, not smarter, and so consequently. We perhaps don't make best use of these resources, and especially when it comes to folks that have disabilities that, you know, when things started appearing on their horizon and they're like, wow, this is going to be great, and then they find that those of us who don't have these disabilities aren't playing into that model of technology the way we should, and so they get nothing out of it. We'll explore the benefits of addressing the issue, whether you are on the government side, whether you work in commercial business. There's things to be gained, and recognize the impacts of resisting change, and discover strategies for removing obstacles. Now, it sounds like a lot. I tell you, honest to gosh, this is going to be, you know, 50,000 foot level. I'll give you some glimpses into some of the issues and how things work. But the main goal for all this is just to raise your level of disability awareness so you can go back home, back to your place of work, and contemplate on how things are going within your realm of control, and maybe see ways that you could, should, or would make them better. Okay, so major categories of disability. I count 4 just in general. There's visual, which, you know, everything from slight problem seeing down to full blindness, but including color blindness as well, which is a thing that we often don't think about. Because what these computers are great, man, they allow us to work in all different colors and everything, and we just don't stop to think how that might affect somebody. Hearing issues, motor disabilities, and that could be everything from paralysis just to, you know, to cases where folks don't have a particular fine motor skill that might be necessary to do a certain thing. And one of the fourth one is cognitive. Now, I'm going to make that one go away. Maybe it won't go away. Come on, you're supposed to go away. There we go. Let it go away, because that's a whole another discussion, and I don't even know much about that aspect. You know, that covers all kinds of things, from just being attention deficit disorder to being distractible to actually having a mental, you know, impairment of some sort, and there's just a lot of things there. And I guess the other thing is kind of like the subject material that I work with, that doesn't really play into it, you know, because I work for IHS. A lot of this stuff is written for people who work in hospitals. You kind of, at least in a lot of environments in a hospital, you can't really have people there that have cognitive problems, at least not as workers, although there's certainly things that I'm sure they could do. So, now I'm asking a question around here. Do you have a sensory disability? Anybody here have a sensory disability? I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Was it that? Yeah. Well, okay. I didn't want anybody to share, but I just wanted to point out that many of us have a disability and we don't really think about it. You know, it's glasses, corrective lenses, but we're part of this group in one respect or another. So, talk about blindness real quickly, and I don't know if this is a real term, but I came up with this idea of contextual definition, meaning I'm not going to give you a clinical definition, but instead the context of what we're talking about. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Reduced ability or inability to see visually presented material. And there are some assistive technologies that can mitigate some of these problems. And like I say, we're all aware of the idea of corrective lenses because we see them around us if we're not wearing them ourselves. Anybody got contacts? Hiding out from us, yeah. Okay. I've seen a lot of things over time, even in the Air Force. I remember a fellow who worked out of the base that he obviously had a really difficult situation with his vision, and he actually, this is in the late 80s, but they bought him a projector of sorts and a little camera deal on a tripod, and he would put a piece of paper down there, put this camera over it, and this projector would display it about 10 feet on the wall, 2 letters, and that's the way he actually read. You know, so I mean, that's pretty extreme technology. We've got of course, screen readers now. Anybody ever used a screen reader? There's like Adobe has one. Kind of not too wonderful. Yeah. There's a lot of room for improvement there. And of course, Braille transcriptions. That used to be like the only way that blind people could deal with printed matter. We find now that there's actually little devices that have little pop-up pins, and the blind person can put their finger on it, and if they know Braille, then it'll pop up and it'll actually, they don't have to move their hand across the page, but instead it transmits the lettering to them.
Did anybody see in the last, it may have been a couple of Fridays ago, a couple of the engineering Fun Friday things, they had showed that a kid had built a Braille writer completely out of a Lego kit.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You know, should I sit down? I don't mind sitting down and doing this.
No.
Is everybody, am I not blocking anybody's view? Okay. All right. So how can we help make things more accessible to people that have some element of actual visual blindness or impairment? And this is going to sound maybe, I don't know, this might sound a little off the wall to you at first, but I hope to show you as we go along how this plays. So the first point I had with this was to create well-structured documents with page headers and footers, tags, section headings, machine-readable text, defined reading order, and linked cross-references. How many people in here know how to do word processing because somebody bought them Microsoft Word sometime in the past and said, here, have at it? How many people have gone to any kind of training using Microsoft Word? More than I would have thought. Or WordPerfect, yeah. I've got both.
WordPerfect,
Yeah, see, and I never did, and so it's just, you know, and I kind of have the sense that a lot of people had the same experience that I did, at least, you know, us oldsters, you know, somebody got out of college maybe 5 years ago, actually had some formal training on it. And adequately labeled graphics are also important. And those of you who have had experience with HTML or other web-based languages or other languages, they're really what? Tools. You'll see that there's a lot of similarity here between what goes on the web and what now goes on inside word processors. So, as we go on.
I'm going to go back to your cognitive disorders because I have dyslexia.
Okay.
I was going to ask about that.
And this, using this for that type of cognitive disorder was like a salvation.
Using
well-structured
okay,
documents
all right.
helps anyone with dyslexia.
You know, I hadn't even, I'm sorry, I hadn't
Yeah.
even thought about that.
It does.
It wasn't.
Because it organizes it into patterns.
Uh-huh.
So dyslexics have problems with pattern. It's pattern recognition.
Right.
Is the dyslexic disorder is that people with dyslexia always try to put things in logical patterns, and sometimes English language is not logical.
Yeah.
And so that's where the disability comes in, which I don't really agree with. It's a disability.
It's a differing
this
ability.
This is what is the solution for that.
Oh, that's good to know.
On the other